Okay, so we already talked about get char and put char in the last class, and I also showed you this example that here in character C I am reading this particular character, a character which is provided by the user to uh, basically on the terminal, and from terminal this get char function is reading it and it is storing it in this particular variable, and put char is printing that variable, that is it is printing the value stored in this variable. So let's run this once again. So suppose K is my favorite character, so I print your entered character is K. Very simple. Okay, so after this we talked about uh, yeah, so after this we talked about um, get S, right? So get char and put char were for characters. So I will not cover this right now. So I will cover this when I talk about strings. And to read and write strings from and on the screen, you have to use getS and putS respectively. So getS reads the screen, reads the string from the screen. So when you put an enter, getS understands that the string has come to an end. Okay, and this \n is replaced by \0. So \0 indicate, so \0 is a character like A, B, something like that, and it indicates that the string has ended. Okay, so if we run this particular code, what I do, I first declare a string, so which is basically an array. So I've not talked about array, but I'm sure you know what an array is. So array is so name is the variable, and 5 shows that it can have up to 5 different characters. So they are stored in name 0, name 1, name 2, name 3, and name 4. So the length is 5, right? And this array can store a string of length 5. So I use putS to print this particular string on the screen. getS gets the string from the terminal, and putS prints that particular variable. Simple enough, right? So let me execute this. First I'm compiling, then I'm executing. So enter name. So you see I write Kripa, but it is still waiting for me. Okay, so after you put enter, this it will understand that the string has ended. So KRIP in the screen is basically the string, and I put enter, then the compiler understand that the string is up to A, the last A, and then it stores it in this particular variable name. So by getS, I'm reading name. I'm reading basically this value into name, and by putS name, I am basically printing the value stored in name on the terminal. In printf, there is no new line by default. If I do this, there is a new line printed, and I write it on the next line. Okay, but instead of printf, so I am commenting this part. I'm writing putS, and the same thing, same string inside this, without the \n. \n is for the new line. Okay, I do this. There is no \n. Let's compile and run this. There is an enter. Can you see? So there is a difference.
Yes, sir.
Apart from the fact that puts and printf are of course different functions. So puts and getters cannot take any formatted input. Puts cannot print input in, print a particular thing, particular variable in a formatted way, nor getters can read a particular input in a formatted way. So what is a formatted way? I will come to it. When I talk about a formatted way, you will understand. But you see that you can only print the variable or the string, but nothing else. But it has this functionality that it prints \n by default. But in printf, it prints exactly what you asks it to do, nothing more, nothing less. That's the difference. So I hope this is clear, right? Yeah, someone was asking me this interesting question. So it's good that you asked me this question. What if I don't do this? What if I don't specify the memory location? What will happen? Let's do that. There will be an error, because whenever you allocate some variable, whenever you declare a variable, some memory is allocated, right? So we saw the example of int a, right? Int a. So a is a single variable, but here it is an array, right? So whenever you are writing an array, you must mention the size of it. Explicit, I mean, this is basically writing it explicitly. So I am mentioning that its length can be at most 5, but there is basically more to it. So let me show you one example to demonstrate that. So Kripa was a 5 characters, right? So let me write a bigger string. Kripa, this one. Still it takes it. So Kripabandhu is longer than 5, right? So I think what happens is, whenever you put 5, it allocates some minimum memory that is of 5, but it does allow more space. So in this case, it has taken something basically more than that. So if you had put something less than 5, less than length 5, let's try that. So j, it works. So once you have done some allocation, it will allow you to choose some different size. So it can be less than 5. So 5 is the upper limit ideally, but sometimes it allows more lengths. It is also compiler dependent. I mean, please run this on basically other compilers, but that should not be done. So it is a responsibility of the programmer to allow compiler space what is exactly needed by you. So here you need a space of 5 characters only. So please don't try to give a string which is longer, because otherwise that will play around with the memory location. In the same memory location, many other programs may be running, which may be hindered. So that is not a part of a good programming, or I mean, that is not the role played by a responsible programmer. So if you are unsure about the length of the string which you are going to read, you can give a longer value, bigger value, so that whatever you put, that will be accommodated within this. Okay. So we all have talked about Scanf, right? So let's look at the formal structure of Scanf. So Scanf consists of a control string. Control string is a format which specifies what exactly is going to be printed in terms of arguments. So whatever string you write here will be printed. But if you can I mean, specify certain I mean, the types of the variables which you also want to print in Scanf. So in order to do that, you specify say integer using %d. So this means that after comma, sorry, I'm talking about scanf, right? So I mean not printing, I'm talking about, I mean taking as input. So this means that uh, this variable, so this I mean format specifiers uh, within control string basically says what type of variables need to be taken as input. And as you know the format, suppose the variables are of integer type and the variable names are num1 and num2. So if you want to take them as input, you have to use ampersand. So that is a format. There's no reason why. So this is a format, and you have seen plenty of examples on this. Okay, this is something which I have not discussed yet. So there is something called a field specifier or a field width, which is like this. So ampersand D, you know, right? So this is W, which is the length of the integer which you want to take as input. So this is the maximum length. Okay, so %5d means this integer should be of uh, 5 basically numbers. So 5 digits, maximum 5 digits, and the second one should be a maximum 2 digits. So it's better to give you an example. This one. So okay, let's I mean the example is here also. So I've taken 3 integers, integer type variables, num1, num2 and num3. So %5d, %2d, ampersand num1, ampersand num2. So let's look at this part only. So I print using a printf 5-digit number and 2-digit number. I mean 2-digit integer. So as I give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the entire number goes into number 1, num1. So that is getting printed. So when you print it, that will be printed. And for num2, I mean this is the number for num2. So it's taking 45 as the next number. So this is a 5 digits, this is a 2 digits. Then I basically reverse this, 2 digit and 5 digits. So how do I do that? By %2d and %5d. Okay. So so though I mentioned 2 digit and 5 digit, by mistake someone gives this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for the 2-digit number I give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then for the 5-digit number I give 56. So what will happen? Since you have mentioned that you want a 2-digit number and nothing else, so it can be max, I mean his upper limit. So it reads the first 2 digits as the first number. So 12 goes to num1. And the reading is not complete, right? 3, 4, 5 is left. And there is a space, which means it has ended here. So 3, 4, 5 goes to num2. Right. 56 is still left. It has not been read. So when you want another integer, again in this, so it is %2, %5, %2d, %5d. I want another integer, but I put %d. So the size doesn't matter in this case. So 56 goes into num3, this num3. So this is a problem. What will happen if you don't specify the lengths properly? Okay, I know it is confusing. I will basically run a code and show you what is going on. So okay, let's run it. So F10. Okay. So I need to give one 5-digit number and one 2-digit number. So suppose I do that. And I give 5, 6. So there is no problem. So this is num1 and this is num2. So this is read by ampersand num1. This is read by ampersand num2. And I give a 2-digit number 23 and I give a space, which means that this is the end of this particular number. Then I give 4, 5. There is no problem in it. And integer, there is nothing. I mean, never a problem in this case. But if I don't follow this, so suppose I follow this one. There's no problem in this, but I do this. And 1, 2 goes to num1, 3, 4, 5 goes to num2, and 89 is read as a, because it is left on the console to be read. So by default, it is going to the second number, so which is num3. So after this is read, sorry, the third one. So num1 becomes 1, 2, and this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 89 goes into this one. So that is the problem of using field width. If you don't use it in the correct way, you will face a problem. But there is a way out. There is a way out. What is the way out? So there, instead of separating the two numbers by space, you can also use enter. So let me do this. So instead of 5-digit number, I give a 2-digit number and I put an enter. And 78. Look, there is no problem. 2, 3, 4, 5. And oh, it doesn't solve the purpose, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 5-digit. It can. Okay. So what happens? I mean, what happens here is. So as I put enter, it has understood that what it was looking for is satisfied. So it has read 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5 automatically. This is fine. So this is a bit tricky. So that there, I mean, there can be several problems in using it. So, I mean, there can be several problems in using it. It is better to stick to %. Okay. Suppose you want to read a pin code, for example. So pin code is of how many characters? How many numbers? 6, right? 71110 I mean, at least in West Bengal, it is like that. So if you don't want some to give a pin code more than that, of length more than that, then you can use this kind of thing. Otherwise, if it is not required, then you may not use this kind of width specifier. And there is something else to it. Let's look at the code. Okay. You can also skip some part of the input stream. What is input stream? What you are providing on the terminal. So if you use this, instead of %d, if you use %d, the compiler will skip the second number and consider the third one. So let's see the example. So, okay, let me not use the whole part of the code. Let me use only this part. Three integers. Okay, so I am giving 1, 2, 3. So num1 is 1 and num2 is 3, not 2, because in %d I have specified a star. I have specified a star. which means the number which is given at number 2 at the second position will be ignored. But there is a question, why why do we actually need to do this? There is no real obvious need. I can't think of any use case for which this will be basically useful, but this is just for the purpose of knowing. So suppose you appear for a particular exam, or some puzzle you want to solve, and there you find something like this, then you should be able to solve it. So this is mainly for the sake of completeness. So the bottom line is, please use %d only. So unless you are not sure about what is going on with the width specifier, there is no real necessity to basically use them. I talked about one example where particular length, particular number of digits can be imported. There you can use. This is showed already. So this was only for integers, mind you. A field specifier is not allowed for %f or %d or for any real number. You can use % of them, and the remaining format is the same, %num1. So here num1 and num2 are float type and long float type. So here is a list of the different specifiers which you can use. Short signed int is like this. But I think you can also use this %i. I've not used it, but I think it can be used. It can be used. Short unsigned is %u. Long signed, there is a spelling mistake. Long signed %ld. Long unsigned %lu. Hexadecimal %x. Octal %o. I've talked about it. For real numbers, it is %f, %lf. Characters for both signed and unsigned, it is %c, and for string it is %s. And this I have used from the book. This table I have borrowed from Kanetkar. Okay. So now let's talk about character type and string type. So in character type also you can use a length specifier. So %c is for character, and %wc is a field width. So it will %5c means that the character, basically the string which you want to take as input should be of 5 characters. So it cannot be less. It waits until 5 characters are basically inputted, and it will not be terminated even if you put blank or new line. So it will absorb blanks and new lines into it. But for %ws, so it is similar, but it is a field width specifier for a string, but it is terminated by blank spaces, new line, etc. And basically when you separate the strings by spaces, the next, basically I will talk about it with an example. New line separated part are removed from the console, so they are not inputted in the string. So let's look at this example. So these are strings, S1, S2, and S3. These are strings. So I'm trying to input the first string, and I have used this %10c, which means that I want the string to be of length 10, not less, not more. I'm not sure what will happen if you want to give more. So I think it will not take it. But in this case, this whole string will take it. This is %s, and %10s is similar to this one, but you can break it. You can basically terminate the reading by new line. Okay, so let's look at the outputs. So if I, so this is the one for %10C, this first one, %10C. So here number one is of length 10, right? So it will take this one, and for the second string, it is %10S. It will also take this. For the last string, it is %S. So there is no problem in that. But in the first string, if you put number and then enter, then 1, 2, then enter, it will take the whole of it. Until then, it can be some garbage values at the end. But for the, so this is the input for %10C. But for %10S, if you have put number and put an enter, then it is terminated. So number goes into S2. In this case, only number did not go into S1 because this was %10C and this is %10S. But yes, that's the thing. And for the last string, it is a %S, right? So I mean, there is no problem in that. And if you want to take another example, okay, it's the same one. I think this is the same one. So let's try to run this and see what happens. Okay. So I'm inputting the first string. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, it can be string also, right? Say NUMBER. That is NUMBER 6 space 7 ONE. So whole. So there sometimes can be garbage at the end. So this is happening in this compiler. It doesn't happen in my GNU in Linux. For the second string, I put NUMBER. So this is for %10C. And this is for %10S. Okay, so what happened here is since I put a space here, %10S does not read or does not consider a space into it. Since I put a space here, only number went into that particular string, one went on to the next string. So I'm trying to read another string by %S, right? So the thing that is left over from here, it is incorporated. So into S3. So it already went to S3 without any conscious input being provided. So again, let's do this number, and I'm putting enter, and it is not terminating because it is waiting for me to give 10 characters. So this is %10S. But there can be some, so I'm getting some garbage at the end. It's happening here, I told you. But in the second number, if I do this, it is certainly not going to work. Number, I put enter, it is terminated. But since after enter, I did not put, so there is no chance to put anything else. So if I put a space here, then it would have waited for me to basically enter the whole string, but it would have taken only number. The remaining part would have gone on to the next string, but since I have put an enter here, so the reading is also terminated, and I can put anything here in the last string, and it is taking it. So please run this code, and maybe we'll get a better idea of what's happening. So the bottom line is, for %10C, no matter what happens, it is going to wait for 10 characters for you to be for you to enter. Then only the control will go to this line. But in case of %10S, the reading will end if you put a space or a new line. But if you put a space, it will allow you to complete your input, but the remaining part after space will basically spill over. So it will either not be printed, or it will basically go on to the next string. But if you put an enter here, then the reading will also end. Okay, the reading will also end. So that's the thing about the formatted input that you can do using Scanf. So this was so I talked about integers, real numbers, and characters or strings. Okay, so how do you know that you have already read the correct input? So what Scanf? So basically, Scanf is a function which returns the number of variables it has read. So in this case, scanf. So okay, let me see if I have written this code already. I don't think I have written. So let me write this. No problems. What's the code? Okay, int a. Out of trouble. Let me see. No. Okay, let me try to do something like this. Let me see if it works. What am I trying to read? %d, %f, %c, %a, %b, %c. Okay, let's see. Int, float, and char. Okay, I'm putting 12, float as 45.6, and char as k. Okay, so what is it printing? Okay, let me be more specific. So 3, what is 3? 3 is the number. So 3 is the value of n. Okay, let me run it again. So 12, 34.5, and say I. So n, you see that in n, I have printed the value returned by scanf. So what is that? I told you, right? It is the number of variables as specified here, right? which is successfully read. So here it has read A as %D, B as %F, and C as %C. So the number here is 3. So it is printing 3, N as 3, and A is 12, B is 34.5, and C is I. 2, 3, 4, 5. So by default, the default precision for this particular compiler is 6 spaces of decimal. So although I put 34.5, it is printed 34.5. Then after that 5 zeros. So let's do something wrong. Say if I put, instead of input integer, let me put a float. So instead of float, let me put integer, and let me, okay. Oh, what it has done is like this. So it has still read it. So it has taken 12 as the integer and the remaining part 0.45 as float, and it has taken 3. So you see that it is a character I am reading, right? So it has taken this 3 as a character. So the number of the value of n is still 3, right? So here Scanf is flexible enough to make basically provisions for this. So let's try to be more inventive. So 12, 13, it will work. Okay, let me see. 12.3 is also going to work. Yes, it's still going to work. So what will not work, if I want to, I think if I want to put a character in a float, if that I do, let me see. In float, let me put C. Yeah, this will not work. It has taken int as 12, but C, I told you that here the ASCII value would be considered, but that ASCII value, so I mean there is some problem. So float is not recognizing a character type, so it did not read this. So you see that it has read 12 correctly, but it has not read B. So this is basically a garbage value, nothing else. And C is not read at all. So here n is 1. Why? Because only one variable, that is A, is read correctly, and there is problem reading the other two variables. Okay, so you can play around with this to see what exactly is expected. Say if I had put A here, and okay, here also there is a problem. Integer, it is not reading A. So if you run this 12, 34, and say 7, it is also reading, because it is considering the 7 is some ASCII value. So it is considering the ASCII value of 7 into it. So this is the speciality of characters, that if you I mean, character can take both its ASCII value, which is an integer type, and the character value. So here also three variables are read successfully. Okay, so so the bottom line is Scanf. So Scanf basically returns the number of variables which it has read successfully. So here are some examples of output. You can please execute this particular piece of code to see what happens. I think I should stop here.